What was meant to be a glamorous Christmas celebration quickly turns into a shocking turning point when a pregnant woman is betrayed by the very man who promised to keep her safe. High above the city, in a moment no one sees coming, she is sent over a fifth-floor balcony and everyone assumes the worst. To all the guests below it seems like the end of her story. But destiny intervenes in an unexpected way because she never reaches the ground. Instead she lands on the one car positioned perfectly to save her life, owned by a former millionaire who never stopped caring for her. What follows is a powerful chain of truths, authority, and consequences that begin to unravel carefully hidden lies and force Malcolm to face everything he tried to bury. And just when it seems the secrets are contained, the truth makes a dramatic entrance that no one inside the penthouse is ready for. Welcome to Voices of Auntie May, where I share meaningful life stories every day, and I'd truly appreciate your support through a like and a subscription. Now let's return to the story because what comes next is worth staying for. Snow drifted softly through the cold December night, shimmering under the warm lights of the Vance penthouse, a towering 5-story home overlooking the Manhattan skyline. Inside, smooth Christmas jazz played as glasses gently clinked and guests in elegant gowns and sharp suits moved through the rooms, while servers passed by with polished trays dressed in festive greenery. Every detail felt flawless, costly, and carefully arranged to reflect Malcolm Vance's image of success. Imani Harper stood quietly near the balcony doors, one hand resting on her 6-month baby bump, feeling overwhelmed by the noise and the expectations surrounding her. The air inside felt heavy, filled with strong cologne and artificial holiday scents, and all she wanted was a moment to breathe. She stepped outside onto the wraparound balcony, where glass railings opened up to the sparkling city below. Snowflakes touched her lashes and melted into cool drops, bringing an unexpected calm. Pulling her shawl closer, she took a deep breath, and for the first time that evening her racing heart finally slowed. Out on the balcony, the quiet helped her thoughts settle as the music faded into the background, until the sound of firm footsteps broke the calm, a pace she recognized immediately. Malcolm always walked as if the space belonged to him, and when he called her name, his voice cut through the cold air, demanding to know why she wasn't inside greeting guests. Imani turned slowly, keeping her face calm as she explained she only needed a short break because the noise had become overwhelming. He stepped closer and shut the door behind him, his face warm from drinks and his posture tense, a sign she knew all too well, though tonight his mood felt sharper and harder to predict. In a low voice he complained that her absence made him look bad, reminding her it was Christmas and that people expected the perfect Vance family on display. She answered gently, saying she wasn't hiding, only trying to catch her breath, but his quiet laugh carried no warmth and felt dismissive instead. He accused her of always avoiding people, while she reminded him she was expecting, tired, and doing her best to keep up. He moved nearer, talking about investors, attention, and public image, insisting that appearances mattered, especially to him. When she whispered that other people's opinions didn't concern her, he insisted they should, explaining that as his wife she was meant to support his image. Without realizing it, she stepped back until the glass railing touched her, and Malcolm stood between her and the warm light inside as snow gathered on his coat. Feeling uneasy, she told him he was frightening her, but he brushed it off, saying she was overreacting and only needed to smile and stand beside him. His gaze dropped to her belly as he complained about rumors and pressure, and with her heart racing, Imani quietly pleaded for him to let her return inside, hoping to escape the tension before it grew worse. She told him they should talk later, once he had settled himself, and that single phrase seemed to freeze him in place. He repeated it quietly, questioning whether she truly believed he wasn't in control, and her hands began to shake as she begged him to think about their unborn child. Something in his face changed, hardening into a look that felt final, as he accused her of always casting him as the problem instead of taking responsibility herself. Before she could respond, he seized her arm, his grip tight enough to make her gasp as she tried to pull free. He stepped forward, crowding her space and forcing her closer to the railing, ignoring her pleas to stop and her clear fear. In a sudden moment that happened far too fast, he shoved her, and her footing slipped on the thin layer of snow beneath her heels. Time seemed to stretch as she lost balance, her hands reaching for anything solid while the lights of the penthouse and the glowing city reflected in the glass around her. She caught one last glimpse of Malcolm's face, caught between anger and shock, before gravity took over and she dropped from the 5th floor, her cry cutting through the cold night as snow spun around her. Above, Malcolm stood frozen at the railing, staring down at the result of his actions. Inside, the joyful music stopped abruptly, leaving the room in stunned silence as guests slowly realized something was terribly wrong. A startled cry rang out near the balcony, glasses slipped from trembling hands, and crystal shattered across the marble floor, breaking the spell of celebration in an instant. Cold air rushed in through the open doors, carrying snow and unease as people gathered in panic. Tanisha Boyd, standing closest, clutched her purse with wide eyes, her shock carefully performed while a flicker of something darker passed through her gaze. Someone shouted for emergency help as guests pressed toward the balcony, stepping onto the snowy floor outside, their breath visible in the winter air as fear replaced the glittering joy of moments before. When guests finally looked down, some stepped back in shock and covered their mouths, while others leaned forward, struggling to understand what lay on the frozen street below. A trembling voice whispered that she was still alive, and another person quietly said they had heard something strike a car beneath the building. Almost without thinking, phones came up, screens glowing as people zoomed in, recorded clips, or switched on their lights, while shaking hands hurriedly typed emergency calls for help. Back inside, the air grew thick and heavy as voices overlapped in confusion, with some guests crying, others whispering prayers, and a small group near the Christmas tree holding onto each other in fear. Malcolm soon stepped back into the room, snow dusting his shoulders and his jaw tight, his face flickering between alarm and forced control as he tried to steady himself before anyone noticed his hands shaking. When someone asked what had happened, he quickly claimed she had slipped on the snow, his tone firm to the point of sounding rehearsed. He added that Imani had been under stress lately and suggested she lost her balance, hoping the explanation would settle the room. A few guests exchanged doubtful looks while others, still stunned or afraid, nodded along just to make sense of the chaos. Tanisha then moved closer, placing a gentle hand on his arm and offering words of sympathy in a soft, emotional voice, reminding everyone how overwhelmed Imani had seemed earlier. Her display drew attention, convincing some onlookers as cameras turned and flashes sparked, shifting focus from the fall to her concern. Murmurs spread about their closeness, prompting Malcolm to subtly pull away as his gaze drifted back toward the balcony, where the truth waited below. Malcolm raised his voice and told everyone to stay inside and away from the railing, insisting the authorities would arrive soon, but his command only made the tension thicker. Guests broke into small clusters, whispering nervously and replaying the scene in their minds, while a young woman stood near the balcony door with shaking hands, her phone clutched tightly as she struggled to steady her breathing. She quietly told her friend she had been close enough to see Imani leaning back into the snowy night, her arms stretching out as if she were trying to catch herself. And although her friend suggested it might have been a slip caused by the snow, doubt lingered in the woman's eyes as she kept glancing toward Malcolm. Outside on the balcony, several people continued staring down at the street, their expressions shifting as pieces of the scene began to make less sense, especially the way Imani had landed and the dark shape beneath her. Someone murmured that it looked like she had come down on a car, possibly crushing the hood, and another voice added that it was lucky the vehicle had been there at all. As phones zoomed in, a quiet but urgent realization spread that she might still be moving, sending a wave of stunned hope through the group. Guests hurried back inside to share the news, but instead of relief, the possibility of her survival stirred fear and confusion, bringing thoughts of questions, statements, and close scrutiny. Malcolm's face drained of color as the reality set in, and he gripped the back of a chair to steady himself while searching Tanisha's face for reassurance. When he quietly wondered what would happen if Imani were truly alive, the weight of that thought unsettled him deeply, because it meant every story he planned to tell would unravel. As distant sirens echoed closer through the night, blending with the uneasy silence inside the penthouse, Malcolm slowly moved farther from the balcony as if stepping away could undo the truth, while everyone sensed that this night was far from over and the calm they hoped for was nowhere in sight. Small clusters of guests whispered anxiously beneath the warm Christmas lights, their faces drained of color as confusion filled the room, while even the jazz musicians stood frozen beside their instruments, unsure whether to stay or quietly leave. Malcolm rubbed his face and carefully reshaped his expression into something steady and practiced, a look that could pass for grief from a distance, relying on a mask he had learned to wear long ago. Lifting his voice, he asked everyone not to panic, insisting it had been an accident and explaining that Imani had been under great stress and felt overwhelmed. Some guests nodded without thinking, more out of fear than belief, while others exchanged uneasy glances, struggling to match his words with what they had witnessed. A woman in a red satin dress cautiously spoke up, saying Imani hadn't seemed overwhelmed but deeply frightened, and Malcolm answered with a gentle smile, blaming emotions, exhaustion, and the strain of pregnancy. Though doubt lingered in her eyes, she stepped away, leaving Malcolm with many more people to convince. He moved toward a group of older investors near the Christmas tree, offering quiet apologies and describing Imani's recent struggles in careful, believable terms, pausing just long enough to make his story sound sincere. The investors listened, unconvinced but silent, bound by their reliance on him. Tanisha then appeared at his side, lightly touching his arm and speaking words of comfort loud enough to be heard. Her voice perfectly measured and her expression filled with convincing concern. Guests watched sympathetically, unaware they were witnessing a performance rather than shared sorrow. Malcolm stiffened but allowed it, knowing her presence strengthened his version of events, reminding her they needed to stay calm and wait for authorities. Across the room, the young woman who had stood near the balcony wiped away tears as her friend held her steady, her voice shaking as she repeated that Imani hadn't slipped or jumped, but had reached out as if trying desperately to stop what was happening. Her friend glanced around uneasily and whispered that she shouldn't speak so loudly because Malcolm might be listening, but the young woman didn't back down, insisting that something felt wrong and that she clearly remembered the look on Imani's face just before it happened. Even from across the room, Malcolm caught her words, and they struck him hard, tightening his jaw as unease surged through him. He knew he had to act quickly to regain control and guide the story before doubt spread any further. With a calm, practiced expression, he walked over and gently asked if they were all right, but the young woman immediately repeated that she saw Imani reaching out. Malcolm responded smoothly, nodding as if soothing a frightened guest, explaining that anyone would reach out if they lost balance and that the snow near the railing had made the balcony unsafe. When she quietly pushed back, saying it didn't look that way, he leaned closer and told her she was in shock, placing a firm yet polite hand on her shoulder, a reminder of his authority more than comfort. Her friend pulled her away, sensing the tension, while Malcolm straightened and subtly signaled his security chief to come closer. In a low voice, he instructed him to check the cameras and remove anything from the balcony or hallway before it could be reviewed, brushing off the guard's concern about procedure with a sharp warning about avoiding scandal. As the guard hurried off, uneasy murmurs spread among the guests, some whispering that this felt wrong while others warned it was too risky to speak up. Fear settled over the room, heavy and suffocating, as everyone understood what was happening but chose silence instead. Across the room, Tanisha watched closely, and for the first time that evening her expression cracked, not with concern for Imani, but with worry for herself as she noticed the desperation in Malcolm's movements and the clear signs that his control was beginning to slip. "Malcolm," Tanisha said, stepping closer, her voice careful but firm. "People are starting to question your story. Maybe we should think this through." He shot her a hard glare. "Let me handle it," he snapped. She pressed her lips together but kept her tone calm. "I'm just saying if she survived, she is not alive," Malcolm spat, his words sharp, though a flicker of panic betrayed him for just a moment. Outside, sirens grew louder, red and blue lights flashing against the glass, turning the penthouse into a tense stage where everyone waited for the next act. Malcolm drew a deep breath, forcing his composure back into place. He had crafted a story and now he needed everyone to believe it. But the truth was already unfolding on the street below, far stronger than the lies he tried to sell inside. Tanisha, always drawn to attention, felt a familiar thrill amid the chaos. The tragedy had shaken the room, but it also gave her the chance to step forward as Malcolm's confidant, the woman he seemed to trust in a crisis, and potentially the one who could replace Imani entirely. She smoothed her silver dress, took a steadying breath, and moved with purpose across the marble floor, letting her heels echo softly as guests clustered in small groups, unaware of her approach. When a few noticed, she offered a gentle, sympathetic smile, signaling shared concern, yet also suggesting an intimate connection with Malcolm. Her performance was measured, walking the line between sorrow and quiet control. "Is everyone all right?" she asked softly. "It's been a terrible night. Malcolm is heartbroken." One man cleared his throat, murmuring that the situation was shocking. Tanisha let her voice tremble just enough, emphasizing that Imani had been unwell and that Malcolm had tried his best to support her. Her words planted subtle seeds, shaping a narrative that Malcolm desperately needed to hold. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and added, "He feels responsible even though it wasn't his fault. I keep reminding him he couldn't have predicted this." A pause gave the thought time to settle before she smiled lightly, adding, "He's not alone." Eyebrows lifted and whispers began, precisely the reaction she wanted. She then tilted her phone so a photo of her and Malcolm, close and smiling, caught the light. She didn't directly show it but left it visible just long enough for another guest to notice. "You and Malcolm are," the woman whispered. Tanisha offered a modest smile. "Not official." "Not yet," she added softly. "There were plans. Malcolm wanted to wait for the right moment. Imani has been struggling with her health." The words hung in the air, carefully shaping perception, while the tension in the room continued to build, every detail reinforcing the story Tanisha and Malcolm were constructing together. Tanisha moved through the room with a quiet confidence, spinning the narrative she wanted everyone to believe. "He didn't want to overwhelm her," she whispered to a guest, letting the lie sound natural and caring. Across the room, Malcolm argued quietly with the head of security, but Tanisha remained unfazed, convinced that she was helping him, that her presence made him appear strong and composed, the calm in a storm. Every conversation she touched carried the same subtle message. She and Malcolm were steady, reliable, and in control, while Imani's instability had caused the tragedy. A middle-aged woman approached cautiously, asking if it was true she and Malcolm had been involved for some time, whispering about the rumors spreading. Tanisha lowered her gaze and let her expression soften, appearing vulnerable. "We never wanted it to happen like this," she said, her voice gentle. "Malcolm tried to handle everything respectfully for Imani, but sometimes life is complicated. You think you'll never find love again and then suddenly..." The woman reached out and Tanisha nodded slowly. "I do love him." The words rippled through the room, sparking a mix of curiosity, sympathy, and subtle scandal. Guests leaned in, listening, watching, hanging on every movement. Later, Tanisha returned to the balcony door, the cold wind brushing her shoulders and snowflakes glinting in the light, blending tragedy with elegance. Near the railing, a young couple overheard her speaking softly to another woman. She explained that Malcolm had planned to file for separation after the holidays, wanting to give Imani a gentle transition and avoid pressuring her while she was pregnant. She added, almost as an aside, that he had given her a ring but told her not to wear it until after Christmas, touching her finger as if the symbol were already there. Whispers followed her, eyes tracked her every move, yet beneath her confident exterior, a thread of fear ran through her. Police were arriving, Imani might survive, and the truth could shatter the careful story she had built. For now, she still commanded attention, presenting herself as Malcolm's future, his unwavering support, the stable companion in the midst of crisis. But she hadn't yet realized that everything she had said could soon come back to unravel her carefully constructed facade. The truth was closing in, climbing the building's stairwell, unstoppable and unforgiving. Outside, sirens grew louder, their wailing bouncing off the surrounding skyscrapers, while flashing red and blue lights painted the penthouse in a restless, uneasy glow. A wave of cold dread washed over the guests as the reality of the night sank in. A pregnant woman had fallen 5 stories and the authorities were mere minutes away. Malcolm felt the pressure of every heartbeat, every second stretching taut. His chest pounded, his palms were clammy, and he craved control, silence, and the chance to shape the narrative before anyone else could. He stepped to the center of the room and clapped sharply, the sound slicing through the tension like a warning. "Listen to me," he said, his voice low but commanding. "Everyone stay calm and remain inside. The police will have questions and we need to be on the same page." Some guests frowned, frozen in place, unsure what same page even meant. Malcolm's smile was calculated as he explained, "Imani slipped. There was snow on the balcony. You all saw how overwhelmed she was tonight." A murmur spread. Some nodded, relieved to have an explanation. Others exchanged suspicious glances. Malcolm's gaze sharpened as he spotted doubt, and he moved toward a man who had questioned him. "If you spread anything that contradicts the story, I will hold you accountable for slander." "Understood." The man swallowed nervously. "I didn't mean anything, I just..." Malcolm cut him off, firm and unwavering. "That's why I'm telling you now." Fear rippled through the room like smoke, tightening every guest's chest. Behind him, Tanisha's face was a picture of carefully crafted concern, though her eyes darted anxiously, scanning the crowd as if calculating the next move. The penthouse was no longer a space of celebration. It had become a stage for control, deception, and the fragile balance of a story that could crumble at any moment. She sensed the shift in the room, the quiet rise of doubt and mistrust, and Malcolm felt it too, pushing him into rash decisions. He lifted his voice again, reminding everyone that they were witnesses to the night and that reputations were at stake, warning that if any story suggested carelessness or wrongdoing, their names would be dragged into it as well. The warning settled heavily over the guests, prompting a woman near the bar to whisper that he was intimidating them, only to be hushed by her husband who urged her not to draw attention. Malcolm caught the exchange and tightened his jaw, insisting it wasn't a threat but simple reality, explaining that cameras, media, and public attention would turn the incident into a spectacle and that staying quiet until the facts were known was the smartest choice. Just then, the head of security rushed over to say authorities had arrived at the entrance, and Malcolm immediately ordered him not to let them up, saying he would go speak to them himself. When the guard hesitated and revealed that the situation was urgent because Imani might still be alive, the room reacted at once, with gasps, frozen movements, and shocked glances passing between guests. Tanisha gripped the back of a chair as the possibility changed everything, and Malcolm felt a chill run through him as the guard quietly confirmed they were trying to stabilize her. For a moment he couldn't speak, fear flooding his expression as he realized that if Imani survived, she could tell her side of the story and unravel everything. Turning back to the guests, he forced calm into his voice, insisting this development changed nothing and suggesting the fall had been softened by chance. But the room no longer met him with sympathy. Instead, eyes filled with doubt and suspicion followed his every move. Sensing the shift, Malcolm stepped forward and spoke sharply, making it clear that anyone who spoke to authorities before he explained the situation would face legal consequences. A final attempt to regain control as the carefully crafted story began to crack under the weight of the truth. "I will personally trace every falsehood back to its source," Malcolm warned, his voice sharp and controlled. A man near the windows confronted him, anger trembling in his tone. "Why are you trying to control what people say? If it was really an accident, what does it matter who speaks first?" Malcolm's eyes flickered with fury. "Because people panic, people distort, and some of you don't even know what you saw." A woman stepped forward, her voice steady despite the tension. "I saw her reach out. That didn't look like a slip." The room fell silent, all eyes turning toward her. Malcolm advanced slowly, a thin, dangerous smile on his face. "You're distraught," he said softly. "I understand, but you will not repeat that to the police. It is inaccurate and dangerous." "What's dangerous is you telling us what we can or cannot say," she countered, trembling but firm. Malcolm leaned closer, a warning in his tone. "Don't tempt me, ma'am." Guests flinched, and Tanisha averted her gaze, pretending not to notice. Straightening, Malcolm addressed the entire room. "I built my reputation from the ground up. I've funded half the charities in this city. I've invested in many of your companies, and I am telling you now, anyone spreading lies that harm me or my family will regret it." Fear rippled through the crowd, some stepping back, others lowering their eyes. The head of security returned. "Sir, the police insist. They are already on their way up." Malcolm clenched his fists. "Fine. But no one speaks until I explain the truth." He scanned the room, noting fear, doubt, and for the first time that night signs of slipping control. Outside, the police were moments away, and the tension inside the penthouse reached a breaking point. A faint chime from the elevator silenced every conversation, and when the polished steel doors slid open, 2 officers, a paramedic, and the building manager appeared. Red and blue lights flickered across the walls, casting an uneasy glow over the glittering tree, sparkling decorations and champagne fountains, all of it now grotesque against the unfolding disaster. Malcolm inhaled, stepped forward as if greeting honored guests, straightened his jacket and forced a calm smile, though tension lined his jaw. "Officers," he said politely, "thank you for coming. It was a terrible accident. I can explain everything." The lead officer, tall with sharp eyes, raised a hand. "We'll speak with you shortly. Right now, we need to confirm information about the victim. I understand she is your wife." Malcolm nodded, wearing a carefully rehearsed expression of grief. Yes, Imani slipped. Before he could add more, the paramedic stepped forward, clipboard in hand, ready to take control of the situation. Malcolm's face drained of color, but his voice tried to stay steady as the paramedic delivered the words no one expected. Sir, your wife is alive. The announcement hit the penthouse like a shockwave. Gasps rippled through the room. A champagne glass slipped from someone's hand and shattered across the marble floor. Tanisha's knees buckled and she clutched the edge of a table, her eyes wide with a mix of horror and disbelief, as though a ghost had emerged from the snow itself. Malcolm felt the floor tilt beneath him, his stomach dropping, his breath catching. Alive. Alive. The word pounded in his mind like a relentless hammer. Alive? Are you sure? He managed to murmur. The paramedic nodded. She fell onto the hood of a vehicle. The impact was severe but not fatal. Someone called 911 immediately. A man near the window muttered, "That car saved her." Another asked, "Whose car was it?" Before anyone could answer, the paramedic added, "She regained consciousness briefly. She said someone pushed her." The room erupted. Hands flew to mouths. Guests stepped back as if Malcolm himself were dangerous. Malcolm immediately denied it. "She's confused. She must be confused. She slipped. I told her to come inside." The officer moved closer. "You said she slipped, but we haven't finished collecting statements." Several witnesses reported seeing something different. Malcolm's face tightened. What guests? What did they see? The officer's gaze swept the crowd. Some lowered their eyes, others stared in fear, and a few seemed ready to speak. Tanisha stepped in, gripping Malcolm's arm and speaking softly with false sorrow. "Imani was very emotional. You have to understand. She's been suffering." Malcolm did everything he could to help her. But a woman near the balcony interrupted, voice sharp. "Stop lying. You were bragging 10 minutes ago that you were seeing him." The room froze. Tanisha's cheeks flushed and her carefully constructed mask of sadness cracked. "That's not true. I never said that," she stammered. "Yes, you did," another guest replied. "We all heard you. You showed pictures of you and Malcolm. You said you had plans. You said he was going to file for separation." Tanisha's hands shook and she stepped back, her performance collapsing. Officers watched every detail intently. Malcolm's anger erupted. "Everyone calm down. You're twisting things. None of this helps Imani." But no one listened. The story he had spent the evening shaping was unraveling. The lead officer addressed the room. "Anyone who saw or heard anything relevant will speak with us privately." Malcolm shouted, "They don't know anything. Half of these people are drunk." The officer stared him down. "You are attempting to influence witnesses." The air grew heavy, suffocating, tension wrapping the room like a tight rope. Malcolm hurriedly denied it. "No, I'm trying to protect my wife." "That is our job," the officer replied firmly. At that moment, the building manager stepped forward, phone raised. "Officer, the security system saved a backup of the lobby and exterior cameras. Someone tried to delete the balcony footage, but they weren't successful. It's fully recoverable." Malcolm froze, every muscle locked as if carved from stone. The guests gasped, some stepping back in disbelief. Tanisha clutched her mouth, eyes wide. The lead officer turned to him, voice sharp. "Who ordered the video to be deleted?" Malcolm's gaze darted between the crowd, Tanisha, and the officer, but no words came. Silence fell like frost over the room. Meanwhile, the paramedic continued, unaware of the storm his words had unleashed. "Your wife is being transported to Mercy General. She asked for someone named Quentin." The room erupted. "What? Who is Quentin?" someone whispered. "Quentin Rodas," another answered, "the former tech billionaire." All eyes snapped to Malcolm. Blood drained from his face. The officer raised her brows, voice firm. "Quentin Rodas is involved in this?" Malcolm's lips moved, searching for words, but shock stole his voice. The building manager added quietly, "The car she fell on is registered in his name." Gasps, murmurs, and shocked glances filled the room as guests edged away from Malcolm, as if the truth itself were radioactive. Tanisha's face blanched, her voice desperate. "No, no, this isn't possible. Why would she call him? Why would she say his name?" A guest muttered, "Maybe he was the one who really loved her." The officer raised her hand, silencing the chaos. We need to speak with everyone. No one leaves this penthouse. Malcolm felt the floor tilt beneath him. His lies, threats, carefully curated image and control, all slipping away like snow melting through his fingers. And somewhere in the city, Imani was alive, speaking, asking for her ex-billionaire. Humiliation was just beginning. Inside the ambulance, fluorescent lights flickered with every bump along the snowy road. The siren's wail echoed off the silent buildings, a stark soundtrack to the tense night. Imani lay strapped to the gurney, bruised and trembling but alive. Her breaths came in shallow waves, eyelids fluttering with each twinge of pain. A paramedic monitored her vitals with calm precision, the rhythmic beeping of the monitor filling the small space. Another paramedic pressed a gauze to the cut on her forehead, speaking softly to keep her awake. "Stay with us, Imani. You're doing great. Your baby is strong. Just focus on breathing," one paramedic urged. Imani tried to respond, but her voice broke into silence. Her throat burned, her chest tightened, and the memory of the fall replayed relentlessly. Cold air slapping her face, the world spinning, her own scream tearing through the night. And above it all, the last image that haunted her. Malcolm at the railing, his face twisted with anger, his hand extended. "He pushed me." The thought struck again, raw and overwhelming, bringing tears that blurred her vision. "Imani," the paramedic said, leaning close, "can you hear me? Squeeze my hand if you can." With effort, she lifted her fingers. "Good. You're safe now. We'll be at the hospital soon." Safe. The word felt fragile, almost alien. Swallowing painfully, she forced out, "My baby, is my baby all right?" The paramedic smiled reassuringly. "The heartbeat is strong. We're monitoring everything. Just keep breathing." Imani exhaled, trembling, and a small wave of relief washed over her, fragile yet steady, anchored by the rhythmic thump of her baby's heart, the only certainty in her shattered world. Suddenly, the ambulance doors burst open, letting in a gust of icy wind. Heavy boots thudded against the ramp, and Imani's eyes snapped open to see a familiar figure leaning over her. Quentin Rodas, snow clinging to his dark overcoat, his breath visible in the cold air, and his eyes filled with panic, fear, and something deeper, an unshakable protectiveness that had never left her, no matter the years. "Imani," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "I'm here." Her lips parted, eyes wide. "Quentin." He stepped fully inside and knelt beside her, taking her trembling hand in his. His touch was warm and firm, a stark contrast to the frozen terror still clutching her. "What happened?" he asked, voice shaking. "Who did this to you?" Imani swallowed, throat raw, words coming weak but clear. "Malcolm pushed me." Quentin froze, jaw clenched, a storm burning behind his eyes. He closed his hand around hers, gentle yet firm, a promise he wouldn't let go. "You're safe now," he said in a low, steady voice. "I won't let him near you again." As the ambulance took a sharp turn, he braced himself with one hand against the wall while keeping the other intertwined with hers. His presence filled the small space, unwavering and strong. Imani felt something she hadn't in months, a warmth and certainty she thought she had lost forever. Hope blossomed in Imani's chest, tears streaming down her temples as she whispered, "He wanted us gone. He wanted us both gone." Quentin leaned closer, voice calm but resolute. "He won't get away with it. I promise you." There was no anger in his tone, only a steady certainty, a quiet vow stronger than rage. The paramedic watched him silently, recognizing the intensity of someone determined to protect a life they loved. Quentin gently brushed a lock of hair from Imani's face. "You're strong. You survived a fall. No one survives something like that. You and the baby, you're fighters." A shaky sob escaped her. "I thought I was going to die." "I know," he whispered. "But you're alive and now everything changes." The ambulance jolted over a bump. Imani groaned and Quentin squeezed her hand reassuringly. "I won't leave you. I'll be with you until the end." Minutes later, the ambulance slowed at Mercy General Hospital. Floodlights reflected off the snow as nurses rushed to meet them, guiding the gurney inside through the swinging doors. Quentin stayed close, refusing to be separated. "She's conscious," a paramedic reported. "Severe bruising, possible rib injuries, possible concussion. Pregnancy stable for now." Imani blinked against the bright lights, vision wavering, clinging to Quentin's voice as he walked beside her. You're going to be okay. I'm here. Inside the emergency room, doctors surrounded her, machines beeping, instructions calling out. Quentin stayed until a nurse gently pulled him aside. Sir, we need space. You can wait outside. He nodded, reluctantly letting go. Imani, I'm right outside. I'm not leaving. As the curtain closed, Imani felt her strength returning, mingled with a fierce spark born of survival. She had fallen from the 5th floor, struck a car, survived, and her baby had survived. The nightmare Malcolm started had failed to destroy her. For the first time in months, she whispered with trembling lips, I'm not afraid anymore. Outside, Quentin stood like a guardian, eyes burning with determination. Malcolm had tried to end her life, but now she had someone powerful on her side and her voice back. Back at the penthouse, the warm glow of chandeliers no longer felt festive. It cast long, distorted shadows over anxious guests. The police cordoned off the balcony, preparing to interview witnesses. The building manager gestured toward the security room as officers moved quietly. Then the elevator chimed. All heads turned as the doors slid open slowly and a tall, commanding figure stepped forward. Conversation halted, breaths caught. Quentin Rodas had entered the penthouse. Quentin stood tall in his snow-dusted dark overcoat, his face a calm mask hiding a simmering fury. The moment he entered, the energy in the penthouse shifted. Guests instinctively straightened, some stepping aside, others whispering in disbelief. That's Quentin Rodas, the billionaire. What is he doing here? Malcolm, still arguing near the staircase, froze as he heard the murmurs. His eyes widened at the sight of Quentin, then narrowed as he forced himself to maintain composure. What are you doing here? He demanded, trying to sound steady. Quentin ignored him entirely, moving directly toward the officers with purposeful, deliberate steps. His dark eyes were sharp, full of resolve. I'm here for information about Imani Harper, he said to the lead officer. I understand she's being taken to Mercy General. I need to know her condition. The officer studied him. And your relationship to the victim? Quentin's response was immediate, firm. She asked for me. Whispers rippled through the room again and Malcolm's face drained of color. She's confused, he shouted, stepping forward. She doesn't know what she's saying. He's her ex, her past has nothing to do with this. Quentin finally turned his gaze on Malcolm, icy and controlled. You pushed her, he said quietly, deliberately. The room seemed to freeze. Shocked gasps echoed as the words landed. Malcolm's mouth fell open. That's a lie, he stammered. Quentin didn't flinch. She woke up in the ambulance and told the paramedics exactly what happened. Her husband pushed her from the balcony. The statement hit like a hammer. Guests reeled. Tanisha clutched her throat, an older man stumbled backward. Malcolm's finger shook as he pointed at Quentin. You're manipulating the officers. You have no right to be here. The building manager intervened nervously. He has every right. The car she landed on belongs to him. That car saved her life. Malcolm whirled on the manager, furious as the room buzzed with tension and disbelief. Why are you telling him that? You had no right. Malcolm's voice cracked, but before he could argue further, the officer raised her hand, silencing the room. Mr. Rodas, we will verify the victim's statement with the paramedics. But why did you come here instead of going straight to the hospital? Quentin's gaze was steady, cold. Because the man who pushed her is still in this room, pretending to mourn her, he said. Malcolm let out a bitter, derisive laugh. Are you insane? You're just seeking attention. That's why she left you. Quentin took a deliberate step forward, taller, calmer, and far more threatening than Malcolm. She didn't leave me. Her father forced her to marry you after striking a deal. I honored her choice and gave her freedom. You stole it. Gasps swept the room. Someone covered their mouth in shock. Malcolm's composure faltered. That's ridiculous. Ask Tanisha, she knows the truth. She knows Imani was unstable. Tanisha's eyes widened in surprise. Why are you involving me? I never said that. Yes, you did, a guest spoke up. We all heard you. An officer turned toward Tanisha. Ma'am, we will speak with you shortly. He shook her head, retreating. I didn't mean it like that. I was only repeating what Malcolm told me. Another crack appeared in Malcolm's fragile story. The officer then turned sharply to him. Mr. Vance, we've been informed that someone tried to delete the balcony and hallway security footage. Is this true? Malcolm swallowed, his throat tight. I wanted to protect Imani. It would ruin her reputation. The officer's expression hardened. Destroying evidence is a serious offense. Malcolm's lie tumbled out instinctively. I did not order anything deleted. The building manager cleared his throat. Yes, you did. You told your head of security to erase everything. The penthouse seemed to hold its breath. Quentin stepped closer, deliberate and menacing. You pushed her, tried to hide it, and now you're blaming the woman you almost killed. Malcolm stumbled back, his heel striking a chair. Panic flickered across his face. Slipped. There was snow. She slipped, he muttered weakly. The officer turned to the guests. If anyone witnessed the fall or heard anything relevant, we will speak to you individually. Voices erupted at once. I saw her reach out. She looked terrified. Malcolm grabbed her arm. She tried to come inside and he shoved her. The room buzzed with tension as the truth began to pierce through every lie. Malcolm stood frozen, watching in disbelief as his carefully crafted story collapsed around him. Every threat, every lie, every attempt to control the narrative unraveled as witnesses found the courage to speak the truth. Quentin stepped closer, his voice low and steady, meant only for Malcolm. Your control ends tonight. Malcolm's chest tightened, his eyes darting around desperately for support that wasn't there. An officer approached calmly. Mr. Vance, you need to come with us for questioning. You have the right to remain silent. Guests parted silently as Malcolm was led away, pale, shaking, and stripped of the authority he had wielded so effortlessly. In that moment, the power in the room shifted completely. Quentin was here and the truth had taken center stage. The world Malcolm had built on lies was falling apart, piece by piece, and the witness's courage had ensured it. His confident stride was gone, replaced by hunched shoulders, rapid shallow breathing, and trembling hands he could not hide. The red and blue lights from the street outside cast chaotic patterns on his face, revealing the fear and guilt he had tried to bury since the moment Imani had fallen. He glanced back, hoping for a familiar ally, only to meet eyes filled with suspicion, disappointment, and fear. Former colleagues and friends now avoided his gaze, whispering among themselves, I knew something was wrong, and he's finished. Tanisha stood near the bar, frozen, her bracelet clinking against her glass as she stared at him, her dreams of wealth and status with him replaced by shock and fear. When the elevator doors closed on Malcolm, chaos erupted throughout the penthouse. Officers quickly organized witnesses, phones buzzed with frantic messages, and even the invited reporter hurriedly typed updates to her editor. The scandal was spreading fast, unstoppable, and downstairs, Malcolm sat in the back of a patrol car, his breath fogging the glass, ears filled with the static of police radios, powerless as his world continued to collapse around him. The officer in the passenger seat spoke calmly into the radio. Suspect in custody. Transporting for questioning. The word suspect reverberated in Malcolm's mind, striking harder than any title he had ever held. Entrepreneur, millionaire, visionary, he had worn those labels proudly, but never this one. Now every accomplishment, every image of control and power, seemed to melt away like ice in his hands. He clenched his jaw, muttering, I didn't push her. She slipped. She slipped. Yet the memory of Imani's outstretched hand, her wide eyes filled with fear, and her sudden fall haunted him relentlessly. The driver glanced at him in the rearview mirror. You'll get a chance to explain yourself, the agent said, but if the security footage confirms what we suspect, you're in serious trouble. The word trial hit Malcolm like a hammer. Trial meant lawyers, cameras, jury selection, and endless public scrutiny. Trial meant everything he had built could crumble while Imani's truth took center stage, and that terrified him more than anything. Elsewhere in the city, reporters gathered outside Mercy General Hospital, cameras flashing, microphones raised, and headlines being drafted. Malcolm's carefully constructed world was unraveling, and the public was watching every moment. Inside the hospital, morning light finally filtered through the windows, turning the cold blue darkness into a soft golden glow. The first light in months that didn't feel like judgment but instead offered a quiet sense of hope. Imani lay propped on pillows, wrapped in a warm blanket, her breathing slow and steady, the monitor beside her confirming her baby's strong heartbeat. Her body ached in new and unfamiliar ways. Her ribs throbbed, her arms were bruised, and a delicate cut marked her forehead. But she and her son were alive, and that alone felt like a victory. Outside her room, reporters waited behind police tape, while volunteer nurses whispered words of admiration and social workers moved quietly, ready to ensure her safety and provide the support she needed. Officers stood at the hallway, keeping watch and turning the space around her from chaos into safety, from fear into order, from loneliness into support. Sunlight spilled through the window, casting Quentin's silhouette in a calm, steady light. He wore a simple sweater and jeans, a relaxed contrast to the formal coat he had worn the night before, but his eyes, though tired, still carried the same unwavering determination that had carried them both through the ordeal. When he looked at her, his expression softened. "You look better," he said quietly. Imani gave a faint smile. "A little," she admitted. "The doctor said we were lucky." Quentin moved to the chair beside her bed and sat close. "I'm not leaving until you tell me to," he said firmly. "Thank you for being here," she whispered. "You shouldn't have had to call me. You should have been safe with the man you married," he murmured, and she shook her head. "I was never safe with him," she admitted softly. "I know," he replied, brushing a tear from her cheek. "But you are safe now. The police have everything they need, the recordings, the witnesses, the security logs. He won't be able to twist the truth this time." She nodded, relief settling in her chest. "I heard the officers earlier. They said they're charging him with attempted murder." "That's right," Quentin confirmed. "They're also questioning Tanisha. She knew more than she admitted and will face her own consequences." Imani exhaled deeply, feeling the weight she had carried for so long start to lift. For the first time, she could imagine a life without Malcolm's control, without his anger, without constant fear. A nurse entered, offering a warm smile. "Good morning, Imani. Your vitals are strong. The baby is stable." "Thank you," she whispered, feeling genuine gratitude. The nurse left, and the word home lingered in her mind, but the penthouse had never been a home. Life with Malcolm had not been a home. She needed a fresh start, a place where fear couldn't reach her, a place where she could breathe. Quentin noticed her pause. "You can stay with me," he offered quietly. "Not forever, not unless you choose, but until you decide where you want to go. It's safe, private, and no one will harm you there." Imani looked at him with tired but grateful eyes. "I would like that," she said softly. Just then, a police officer entered, approaching her bedside with a respectful nod. "Imani, Malcolm Vance has been denied bail. He will remain in custody while the charges proceed. We will coordinate protective measures with you. You won't face this alone." Imani exhaled a long breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling with relief. The officer continued gently, "We also recommend a restraining order. It's mostly a formality, but he won't be near you again. You are very strong, and what happened was not your fault." Imani nodded, letting the emotions swell inside her, finally feeling a sense of safety and control return to her life. The officer left, closing the door behind her, leaving the room calm and safe. Imani rested a hand on her belly, feeling her baby move gently. "I want a quiet life for this little one," she whispered softly. "A life free from fear, free from chaos, free from Malcolm." Quentin smiled gently, taking her hand. "You'll have it. I promise." Sunlight streamed across the bed, warming the white sheets and filling the room with a sense of peace. For the first time in years, Imani felt calm. She was no longer the woman who entered a penthouse with a fake smile, trembling and afraid. She was no longer the wife trying to fix a man who wanted to control her. She was no longer pleading to be heard on a balcony. She was a survivor, stronger and more capable than she ever imagined. Hours later, when she was discharged, Quentin wheeled her carefully through the hospital lobby. Reporters and cameras tried to swarm, but officers held them back, giving her the space she needed. Imani kept her gaze steady, refusing to let their questions and flashes disturb her newfound peace. Outside, snow fell softly, covering the world in quiet white, as if offering her a fresh start. She inhaled deeply, feeling hope and the promise of a new life settle in her heart. Quentin guided her to his car and she squeezed his hand. "This is the beginning, isn't it?" she asked. He looked at her with warmth and certainty. "Yes, this is your beginning." Hand in hand, she stepped into her new life, free for the first time in years, ready to embrace the future she deserved. And to all of you watching, thank you for letting me share this story with you. If you enjoyed it, show your support by liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Leave a comment telling me which city you're watching from and what time it is. I'd love to see where all of you are tuning in from. If you want to support a little extra, you can send a small donation. I share real-life stories every day, and now 2 of my most popular stories will pop up on the screen for you to choose your next watch.